Harvey Weinstein, like a lot of you guys already know the story. There were women that came out against him, had accusations against him in reference to sexual assault and sexual harassment. Rose McGowan was one of those people. She was very vocal about her story, and she was pretty much blacklisted in Hollywood because of it. I sincerely hope that what you're about to hear gives some type of justice for those women, all of those women in Hollywood that Harvey Weinstein has assaulted, has belittled for years. Hopefully, because Harvey Weinstein had another trial in LA. The first one was on the East Coast. This one was here on the West Coast. And those results came in last night. Let's check that out.
We've got breaking news here in Los Angeles. A verdict in the rape and sexual assault trial of former Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein. Dana Griffin is following it all. Dana, what are you hearing?
Lester, the 70-year-old former Hollywood movie mogul, has now been convicted of rape on both coasts. A jury in Los Angeles returning guilty verdicts on 3 counts, including forcible rape. The announcement came after 10 days of deliberations and a nearly 2-month-long trial. Now, the jury was hung on 3 counts and found Weinstein not guilty on a 4th. Weinstein is already serving a 23-year prison sentence for a rape conviction in New York. Weinstein pleaded not guilty in both trials and denies all allegations of non-consensual sex. Court here in LA resumes tomorrow to consider aggravating factors. Depending on the jury's decision, Weinstein faces up to 24 years in prison.
Okay. So you heard that. Now I want you to remember, because I have an article here I want to talk about as well. I want you to remember who Harvey Weinstein was. This is someone who was very powerful in Hollywood, who was friends with people like Oprah Winfrey. As She's Black just pointed out, I was going to mention this as well. He was also a DNC donor. He was very much protected. Someone very wealthy, someone very powerful, someone who had politicians on his side, someone who had the banks on his side. This was someone that was almost, or seemed like almost, impossible to go up against. So it was very important that for the women that were victims of his crimes, it was very important that they came forth together. Because it's one thing if you have one person, but it's a whole nother thing if you have multiple women come forth and speak about these allegations as well. Whole other thing. Now, I want to get into this. Now, this is from AP. It says Harvey Weinstein found guilty in LA trial. Let's go ahead and get into this. After a month-long trial and 9 days of deliberations, LA jurors on Monday found Harvey Weinstein guilty of rape and sexual assault of just one of the 4 accusers he was charged with abusing. So remember, there were multiple women, but the 3 guilty counts involving an Italian, I got to make this a little bit smaller, involving an Italian actor and model known at the trial as Jane Doe, still struck a major blow against the disgraced movie mogul and provided another #MeToo moment of the reckoning 5 years after he became a magnet for the movement. Weinstein, 70, who was 2 years into his 23-year sentence for a rape and sexual assault conviction in New York that is under appeal, could get up to 24 years in prison in California when he is sentenced. He was found guilty of rape, forced oral copulation, and another sexual misconduct count involving the woman who said he appeared uninvited into her hotel room during an LA film festival in 2013. Weinstein forever destroyed a part of me that night in 2013, and I will never get that back. The criminal trial was brutal, and Weinstein's lawyers put me through hell on the witness stand. But I knew I had to see this through to the end, and I did. The woman said in a statement after the verdict, "I hope Weinstein never sees the outside of a prison cell during his lifetime." It goes on to say Weinstein was acquitted of sexual battery allegation made by a massage therapist who treated him in a hotel in 2010. Now, I want to remind you guys, look, it's 2022. This has been going on for a long time in Hollywood. The jury was unable to reach a decision on counts involving two accusers, notably rape and sexual assault charges involving Jennifer Siebel Newsom, a documentary filmmaker and the wife of California Governor Gavin Newsom. Let's say this again. The jury was unable to reach a decision on counts involving two accusers, notably rape and sexual assault charges involving Jennifer Siebel Newsom, a documentary filmmaker and the wife of California Governor Gavin Newsom. A mistrial was declared on those accounts. So that's something too that some people may not be aware of. Gavin Newsom's wife was also one of the people that came forward about allegations against Weinstein as well. These are listen, it's not like this guy assaulted people that were not well known. These were people who were well known, people who were in the industry. And I fail to believe that no one else knew about this. I fail to believe that other men in the Hollywood circles did not know that this was going on. And you know why I say that? Because let's go back to Bill Cosby. Why was it that after Bill Cosby was found guilty, by the way, he's free because of technicality. After Bill Cosby was found guilty, why is it that all of a sudden, all these other men in Hollywood finally come forward and say, oh yeah, I heard those things about Bill Cosby back in the day. Yeah, we heard he was doing those things to women. Why didn't they come forward back then? See, this is where we need, for men who are listening, this is where women need you to be an ally, especially if you knew it was happening and you said nothing. The type of abuse that goes on in Hollywood, and not just in Hollywood. Tara Reid was just here Sunday talking about her allegations against Joe Biden. The type of abuse that happens in the political space in this country, involving people in positions of power. There's many, many stories. We've only heard some of them. We probably haven't even heard half of them. It's disgusting when you think about it. Where are the clients of Jeffrey Epstein? Why hasn't that list been released? Because there are people in powerful positions in this country that allowed that abuse to continue. That's why Harvey Weinstein was able to get away with what he did. That's why Bill Cosby was able to get away with this for decades. And he was known as America's dad. It goes on to say Weinstein looked down at the table and appeared to put his face in his hands when the initial guilty counts were read. He looked forward as the rest of the verdict was read. Harvey is obviously disappointed in the verdict. He knows what happened and what never did. Now, that's a spokesperson for Weinstein named Judy Engelmeyer. She said this in the email, saying there was a strong basis for an appeal on the convictions. Harvey is grateful for the jury's work and the other counts, and he is determined to continue his legal challenges and ultimately proving his innocence. Okay, whatever. Look, I'm going to just say this. If you haven't seen the interviews that Rose McGowan has done on whether it's been mainstream media or independent media, go watch those interviews. Tell me if Rose McGowan is making all this up. LA County District Attorney George Gascon applauded the accusers for their bravery to testify in the case, saying in a statement he was disappointed by the split verdict, but hoped it would bring some measure of justice to the victims. Harvey Weinstein will never be able to attack another woman. He will spend the rest of his life behind bars where he belongs. That's coming from Siebel Newsom. That's Gavin Newsom's wife. Throughout the trial, Weinstein lawyers used sexism, misogyny, and bullying tactics to intimidate, demean, and ridicule us survivors. The trial was a stark reminder that we as a society have work to do. Sibyl Newsom's intense and dramatic testimony, in which she described being assaulted by Weinstein in a hotel room in 2005, brought the trial to its most dramatic moments. But only 8 of the 12 jurors agreed to find Weinstein guilty of those counts. Jurors were deadlocked 10-2 on a sexual battery count involving Lauren Young, the only accuser to testify at both Weinstein trials. She said she was a model aspiring to be an actor and screenwriter who was meeting with Weinstein about a script in 2013 when he trapped her in a hotel bathroom, groped her, and masturbated in front of her. Lacking any forensic evidence or eyewitness accounts of years-old allegations, the case hinged heavily on the stories and credibility of the 4 women at the center of the charges. The women's stories echoed the allegations of dozens of others who have emerged since Weinstein became a Me Too lightning rod, starting with stories in the New York Times in 2017. The movie about that reporting, She Said, was released during the trial, and jurors were repeatedly warned not to see it. It was the defense that made #MeToo an issue during the trial, however, emphasizing that none of the 4 women went to the authorities until after the movement made Weinstein a target. So let's say something here. None of the 4 women went to the authorities. I wonder why. If you listen to Tara Reid's story, here's someone that did. Here's someone that tried to do the right thing. And there's several women in that position that did go to the authorities, that did report it. What about the woman that reported Dan Price? Oh, yes, Dan Price that everybody loves. The entrepreneur who decided to give his employees $70,000 pay salary. The guy that everybody loves. Everybody loves Dan Price. A woman that he is accused of assaulting. I have to be careful what I say on here. She came forward to the police right after the incident. She was told by the police there was nothing they could do because of who he was. That's why women are less likely to come forward, especially if it's a person in a position of power, especially if it's someone like that, or they're less likely to be believed. You want to talk about forensics? You know how many rape kits are sitting in police stations across the country that have not even been tested? This is a joke. And part of the problem is because when it comes to law enforcement, oftentimes they don't see sexual assault as a violent crime. That's part of the reason why they don't act on it. And the other part of the reason is because sometimes it's a person in a position of power. So the fact that those women didn't come forward until he was a target, that's probably because they felt more comfortable doing so at that point in time. Look at what happened to Tara Reid after she came forward with her story. They ruined her career. You can't trust it. You can't trust it. Thank you for the super chat, Andrew. Some people I know for a fact have been sexually assaulted have specifically told me not to make it public, even among the people in our families and circles. I don't know what to do, but want to stop the offenders. It's a tough position to be in, Andrew, because at one point you want to prevent them from doing that to someone else. At the same time, you want to respect the victim's privacy, right? What they're asking for. It's a tough space to be, tough position. And it's not even just with the women. Men have been assaulted in Hollywood. Brendan Fraser was assaulted, and they ruined Brendan Fraser's career after he came forward about it. Terry Crews, same thing, came forward about it. Don't hear much from Terry Crews anymore. But don't forget about the 2 boys who, at the height of their career, Corey Feldman and Corey Haim, both of them came forward. It was Corey Feldman who came forward first and said, listen, there are people in Hollywood who are abusing children. And he said that he was abused. And he said that Corey Haim was abused. People didn't want to believe Corey Feldman. They were like, oh, he's just trying to get attention. He's trying to be relevant again. They didn't believe him. Here we are years later. Do they believe Corey Feldman now? This is the problem. People come forward and they're treated like they're the enemy instead of going after the person who assaulted them. Gamer for Life says Corey was the first to speak out. That's right. It's not just women. This is happening to men too. Off-rail Russiagators, that Corey interview is intense. Yeah. That's right, LP. They'll have everyone thinking you're nuts. That's right. Listen, there's some predators in Hollywood. There's some presidents. Well, there's some predators in Hollywood. There's some predators in politics. There's predators in every powerful position in this country. If you're in a position of power, not everyone in a position of power is one. But if you look into different industries where there are these positions of power, don't be surprised if you find one in every industry. Don't be surprised because they know people are not going to come after them. And it's not just Hollywood. You also have to think about the military. Someone just mentioned military in the chat. I saw a documentary not too long ago where there were women who were soldiers in the military and they were sexually assaulted by other soldiers in their unit. They came forward and they were the ones, they came forward and they were the ones that were attacked. They were the ones that were told, you need to not talk about this. The soldiers were not investigated. The ones who attacked them. This is right in the United States military. Still happens today. Still happens today. So I'm glad that he's found guilty. Yes. Should he be found guilty on all of those cases? Absolutely. But it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Why did you have to have a whole movement for this man to be put away? Terrible. Terrible. All right, let me go to some of the comments here and then we will go to the next story. Sword of Truth says, I have a friend that was an actress and she quit. She said everyone knew what the score was. My friend was not willing to do the deed. A lot of times for these women to get these roles, we're not seeing all of them. They are asked to do some things sexually that they may not agree with or want to do, or they're forced to do things. Deneen Grant, not hearing much about this on lamestream media. They don't want to talk too much about this, that's for sure. Angela says he had every reason to believe he was untouchable by the law because for so long he was untouchable. That's right. JB says if Ricky Gervais knew about it, then all the other men knew. There you go. Thank you for the super chat, Steve. They all used to kiss Harvey's ass at the Oscars. That's right. I wonder how Oprah feels. Because Oprah, Oprah's interviewed so many people and Oprah knew him like that. I'll take those comments on Rockfin, Eric. 3 reasons why the men probably don't speak up. 1, they were getting something from the powerful person as well. 2, fear because they have a cult following and anyone who speaks out against them could possibly find themselves in a box. Or 2, they're guilty as well. Whether we are talking R. Kelly, Africa Bambaataa, yes, that was with underage boys. Wrong. Nothing less. And when MX spoke out against Elijah M. Mm, mm, mm. It's very crazy. It's very sick. Like you look at some of these circles of people and like who they're with, and you just wonder, like, were you guys absent to all of this? I don't know. I don't know.